Iliadis from Start My Consulting Business, and in this video I'm going to share with you a technique that I've shared with very few people. I actually taught this technique during one of my last webinars where I showed people in detail how to identify and validate a profitable consulting niche. After that, and actually during and after that webinar, I got lots of feedback from people telling me how valuable they found that technique and the other techniques that I covered. Because of that feedback and because I want to help you as much as I can build a profitable consulting business, I'm going to share this technique, which is just one of the techniques that I shared and taught in that paid webinar. This technique is an extremely powerful way to identify, research, and validate consulting niches. And of course, having a profitable consulting niche is one of the foundations for building a profitable consulting business. So let's get started.
Okay, so before I go into the actual technique about how to identify and validate a profitable niche, I'm going to talk about a couple of things very briefly. First of all, why is a niche important? Well, first of all, you're going to have lower competition just because there are fewer people in a smaller, more specific niche. You're going to be able to charge a higher rate, typically because you have more specialized experience or expertise or knowledge about that niche. You're going to have an easier time getting noticed since you're in a smaller market. You're going to have an easier time establishing your credibility and your expert status in that smaller market. And of course, it's going to be easier for clients to find you. Okay, so that's why a niche is important. Now, next, let's talk about what makes a good consulting niche. And there are really three main things: the size of the niche, how competitive it is, and also whether it's profitable. So I'm going to talk about each of those three things in the technique that I'm going to show in just a sec. But essentially what we want to do, again, very quickly, I cover this way more in depth in the actual course, but you want to make sure that the niche is large enough that there's enough of a market for you to expect that you can have a successful and profitable, sustainable business. So you don't want it too big though, but big enough that you're going to be able to have a sustainable business that you can build within that niche. You want there to be some competition because that means that there's money being made in that niche. If there's no competition, generally that means that people aren't able to make money in that niche. So you want there to be some competition there, not a whole lot though. So it's kind of like a little Goldilocks thing. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. And same thing with profitability. Generally, if a niche is very profitable, there's going to be a lot of competition in there. And that typically happens with larger niches. So you want there to be some profitability, but generally not a whole lot in that niche. So let's go and talk about, and I'll show you the technique now. Okay, so the first step in this technique, there's actually two steps. The first step I'm going to show you is the manual way of doing it. This is fairly time-consuming, fairly cumbersome. I'm going to next show you a more automated, much more time-efficient way of doing this. But I want to show you this manual way first so that you can get a sense of the concepts and what we're actually doing here. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to go into Google AdWords. Here's the URL. We're going to click on Tools and Analysis after you sign in and go to Keyword Planner. That's all I've done so far. Next, we're going to type in the name of whatever your niche happens to be. Here I'm going to type in dog training. Then we're going to leave these defaults the way that they are. Click Get Ideas. And so we're just essentially pretending as if we were going to do some advertising with Google AdWords. We're not actually going to do any advertising or spend any money advertising. What we're interested in doing is finding out more information about our niche, what the size of the niche is, how competitive it is, and whether it's profitable. So if I look down through these ad groups, or I can click on the keyword ideas as well, I can see some general information: average monthly searches, competition, cost per click. And this cost per click just refers to if I'm advertising for a particular keyword, like dog training videos, for example. If a visitor to that search clicks on my ad, I'm going to pay on average about $1.69 for that click. Whether or not I actually make the sale or not, I pay for the click. That's how this works. So generally, the higher the cost per click, this higher CPC, means that there's more money being made in the niche. If no money is being made, then nobody's going to be willing to pay anything for a click on their ad. Competition actually refers to how the competition between advertisers to advertise for that keyword. And the monthly searches is how many people are searching for that particular keyword. So let's click here and we'll see some different keywords: dog training videos, dog training supplies, basic dog training equipment, and so on and so forth. So again, we can see in more detail for each of those keywords what the search volume is, how many monthly searches there are on average for those keywords, how competitive it is to advertise in that niche. And again, If nobody's trying to advertise or nobody wants to advertise, it's going to be fairly low competition. If more people are wanting to advertise, generally there's going to be more money being made in that niche, although it doesn't always hold true. And then the more being that people are willing to pay per click indicates general profitability for that particular niche. You can also mouse over these little graphs like I'm doing here and get an idea of whether a keyword is, the search volume is seasonal or not. Sometimes they peak in different times of the year. Sometimes it's fairly consistent throughout the year. So you can see how it's trending. So this is a pretty manual way of doing it. It gives you some really good information, but it's fairly cumbersome and fairly time consuming to use. So let me next show you a more automated way of doing this. Okay, so what I've done here is I've opened up an application called Longtail Pro, and I've actually got the Platinum version, which is an upgraded version of it. This is a paid tool. The cost is, I think, about $97, although there's a free intro version or demo version that you can get that has the full functionality for the program, it's a really great tool. Again, it's going to make your time much more efficient, and it's going to automate much of the things that you just saw with the Google Keyword tool. Okay, so what I've done here is I've gone in and just created a new campaign, click add, and then make a new campaign, and then I'm going to type in my dog training keyword in here. If I could type, click add, and then what I'm going to do is go down here. You can actually apply filters and get additional data. I'm not going to do either of those right now. What I just want to do is get some basic information for this keyword. So I'll click generate keywords. It's going to do its thing here, and this is actually using Google AdWords to generate this data. So you can see right now I've got a whole bunch of keywords that I can look at. I can alphabetize them. I can order them by cost per click. I can order them by the local searches that are on here, the number of local searches, things like that. So if I want to just look at dog training, about dog training, and I'll scroll down here where it says dog training, dog trainer, dog trainer training, if you're trying to be trained as a dog trainer. Dog trainer, dog trainers, dog training 101, training academy, all this information, all these different keywords. And so again, you can see the number of local searches, and again, local searches are going to be within your country, average cost per click, and whether it's high, medium, or low competition. The other thing that you can look at is keyword competitiveness, which is that's an advanced feature that I'm able to access through the sort of Platinum version of this tool. I can calculate that, and it'll show me about how competitive that keyword would be to rank for. For example, if I had a website that I wanted to have show up toward the top of the Google search rankings when someone does a search for that keyword, it'll show me how competitive it is. It's from 0 to 100. 100 is very competitive. You're probably not going to be able to get on the first page or anywhere near the first page of Google with a very high competitive keyword. But this essentially is going to automate far more of the searching and your keyword research and your niche research than simply using the manual Google keyword tool. So I've got a whole lot of different keywords here. What I can do is I can go back to the campaign settings and then look at filters, and right here I've got some default filters set up. So maybe you just want to look for searches, keywords that have over 1,000 searches per month, and maybe we'll turn off. Maybe we'll leave this here. Average cost per click at least $1. So at least there's some money being made, and at least there's sort of a moderate volume of searches in the volume there. So what I've done here is it goes back and it's going to filter out all those searches that we saw, and it'll just search within the parameters that I've indicated. So I can click up here, order that by search volume, so I can see what terms, what keywords have the most search volume, or I can search by which have the highest cost per click. How to become a dog trainer, dog psychology, dog training schools. So it seems like if I were to be a dog trainer, that if that was my niche, it seems like there's a fair amount of volume here. There's money being spent on advertising in this niche. There's also a fair amount of competition, though, in the niche. So if I'm like a dog trainer or animal behaviorist, that's probably a little bit more niche-y than dog trainers. But you can go even like police dog training. You can see that's got a fewer number of searches, but it's actually a little bit more, it's still competitive, but there's more money being spent on advertising for this particular niche. So it might be a more profitable niche than just say puppy care or new puppy or something like that. So those are some of the things that you'd want to take a look at. You can also click on a particular keyword. If I click there, what it's going to do is it's going to bounce me over to this competitor analysis window or tab, and it's going to show me what the top 10 Google search results are, what the pages are, the URL for the page, the title of the page, and how many page links there are, all this other type of information that's more SEO related, search engine optimization related. But it's also going to give you some good information about who your competition is and how likely it might be that you can compete with them and then also get onto the first page of Google. And this is actually competitiveness of about 31. That's actually not too bad. For a new site, you might actually be able to rank on the first page, or over the next couple of months, maybe have your site rank on the top page, on the first page of Google, or even maybe near the top of the page of the first page of Google. So it's actually not too competitive. And like we saw, if I go back to the keyword research, we saw that there's money being made in this niche, and it's got an average number of search volume. Again, it's going to be somewhat competitive, so you may want to consider that, or you may want to look at maybe niching that down even further. So again, it's a more automated way of getting this information. I just find that it saves a lot of time and it gives me access to more information in a far easier way than the Google Keyword tool does. Again, the Longtail Pro is a paid tool. I'll give you the link here at the end of the video and also in the blog post. It's but I end up using it far more than Google Keyword tool. There's also another paid search tool or paid niche analysis tool called Market Samurai that's good. I like it. I used to use it a lot, but it tends to be a little more complicated. It gives you more information than Longtail Pro, but I find Market Samurai a bit more complicated to use and a little bit more cumbersome to use than Longtail Pro. Longtail Pro I find is a bit simpler, and again, it just automates a lot of this stuff and lets me scroll through this information a lot easier than I could in the free Google Keyword tool.
Okay, so that was just one tool or technique that I covered and taught during the paid webinar. If you found any of this helpful, go ahead and leave a comment right now on my blog. You can also share or like this video. And if you're not already subscribed to get free email updates like this, go ahead right now on my blog, enter your email address in the right sidebar, and you'll get immediate access to my consulting toolbox, which includes 4 free ebooks, 3 video lessons, and 1 interview. So go ahead, comment, subscribe, like or share now. Thanks, and we'll talk soon.